Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Kilger, Managing Editor for Feed and Grain and host of the Feed and Grain podcast. This episode is the second in a set of interviews with some fantastic students from Kansas State University's Grain Science Department. We did them all on the show at IPPE, so the audio may be a tad rough. You'll hear some people moving around in the background and stuff. But they are great interviews with my guests, Ashley Sainey, Alison and Patrick Badger, who are all great to talk to and had a lot of insight into the industry itself and their futures within it. We discuss why they took an interest in the feed industry, their experience getting an education in grain science, and what they look forward to in their future careers. But before we start, I've got to do a bit of housekeeping. If you're listening to this podcast within a podcast app, please consider helping us out by subscribing and or leaving a review. If you have an idea for a topic you'd like me to cover, or for someone in the animal feed, grain handling, or related industries you think I should talk to, let me know. This podcast page on feedandgrain.com has a button right under the title that will let you send me an email directly. All right, enough of that. On to the conversation itself. You mind telling me who you are, just so I have it on the record?
Yeah, so I'm Ashley Sainey. I'm from Norfolk, Nebraska, and I'm currently a junior at Kansas State in feed science. So,
what drew you to feed science? Why were you like, this is the career for me?
So I grew up in and around livestock my whole life. So we do show stock. A lot of show stock goes
cattle,
from feed. Mostly sheep and goats.
Sheep and goats, okay.
Chickens within the last 5 years. But mostly sheep, goats, and chickens. Occasional steer, heifer, the occasional hog, but mostly sheep, goats, and chickens.
Nice. Is it the family business, or you guys?
So we raise our own boar goats. So my aunt and uncle have their own boar goat herd at home, and we kid out goats every year and show them back at the shows and stuff. And it's probably my favorite thing to do. See all the little baby goats running around.
Well, what part of the country are you from?
So I'm from northeastern Nebraska.
Yep, you told me that.
Yeah, so I'm about 4 hours north of Manhattan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's one of the big advantages of being in feed science. So you can kind of go anywhere, at least in the Midwest that you want to go.
Midwest and on the East Coast, there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah. Is that part of what kind of drew you to it?
Yeah, so how many opportunities I have. And then growing up in livestock, it's just, I didn't want to go animal science. Animal science is great. It's great, but it does not get me to where I want to be. I want to go the next level, more specific, more geared towards what I want to do. And feed science is the only program in the country that can allow me to do that. So
yeah, have you gotten to walk around a little bit and talk to people?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of people. So my dad is actually at this show. He is an employee at EBM. So is a big part of the show, and he's been showing me around and introducing me to people, and it's a great way to meet people.
I didn't ask anyone else this, but I'm going to ask you this. What do they have to do to attract you to work for them?
I guess I haven't really thought about that. I think for me, I want to be in Nebraska somewhere. I think that's just something that I want to do. I'm willing to relocate if I like the idea. I like to be close to home. I'm a big family person. So being in that 8-hour range of around home would be great for me. I think East Coast is a little bit far, but anywhere in the Midwest I can make what work. But just being an overall good company, being somebody that appreciates their employees and knows that there's a time and a limit between work and home.
Sure. I actually really like Nebraska. Omaha is one of my favorite Midwestern cities.
It's awesome.
Anything else you're looking forward to at the show? You guys get to do any education sessions, anything like that?
So we've done a couple interview sessions with companies and stuff, but right now I think it's just getting to meet all of the businesses that you don't even realize are in feed that are here.
Yeah.
And see the poultry side of it, the production side of it. It's really cool.
Well, that's another career avenue, right? Is if you don't end up in a mill, the equipment side also needs as many people as they can possibly get.
Exactly. I think there's so many opportunities within feed that there's plenty out there for us.
Excellent. Well, see, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Easy, hopefully. Thank you for talking to me.
Yeah, of course. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, very nice meeting you too. Well, first we should probably start with your name.
Oh yeah, Alison Bloom.
Alison, very nice to meet you.
Yep.
Thank you for talking to me today.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going for your PhD now.
Yep.
What's it going to be in?
So mine's a little bit different than people in our group typically. So I'm looking at how we're doing production planning based off of the feed orders coming in, and then trying to tie that to feed deliveries going out the door, and how we're routing trucks and trying to improve the throughput through the mill with that space.
See, now you're talking my language, because now we're getting into article territory. What's your career goal? Do you want to go in academia? Do you want to do the research side of things? Are you planning on going into the nuts and bolts industry? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I really like being in industry. Mm-hmm. I like playing with big data sets, and trying to take the information and the things we're tracking already. Everything in the mill is automated at this point, so there's a lot of data points we can use, and that's not always being utilized to the fullest capacity. So trying to find a way to take that information and actually make it useful is really fun for me.
And a very emerging thing in the feed industry it's how we're going to make our profits in the future, right?
Exactly.
Because everything's getting tighter, everything's a little closer, commodities are up, people want to pay less for feed, so that's where the money is.
Yep, yeah. So I like the feed mill side, and my background's been in swine barns, I've been in labs for a couple years, now in feed mills, so I like being able to kind of work between all of those spaces and see how that information connects to each other.
What made you decide that feed science was for you?
So my path has not exactly been linear. I mentioned that I've been in swine barns. So growing up, we had a swine finishing barn that my family would manage. And so I had that background, and then decided I wanted to do more like genetics and microbiology and science, and realized that I maybe wanted to do a pathology vet school route. And after working for a couple years, kind of realized that's not what I actually wanted to do. And so I was looking at programs to come back to school, and I really liked the swine side again, and I had found that passion. And so I was talking to a swine nutritionist, and it just so happened he told me, look at K-State. I talked to their program, and it kind of all worked out that my background matched really well with what some of Dr. Polk had been doing with feed safety. So I fell into feed science without knowing what it was. And then after being in it and doing my master's, I really saw the need and the ability to kind of expand. And I learned that I really liked data, and I like trying to make sense of it. So I saw a use for that and a need for that in the industry. And I had fallen in love with being in the mill and the people who manage and operate, and even the feed delivery drivers I enjoy working with and talking to and learning what they know and what they've accumulated over the years, and trying to find a way to preserve that knowledge, I think, is really important too.
Yeah, definitely. Have you gotten to talk to some of the data guys here at the show?
Yeah, I've talked to quite a few people. I've talked to some of the trailer guys as well, and what systems they have on their trailers, and how they're able to track feed and what bin exactly they're dropping it into or not, and some of the control systems. And yeah, it's been very fun.
Yeah. Well, I've been in covering the industry for about 8 years now, and even in that 8-year span, all of that stuff has advanced so much.
Yeah.
You could argue that we were a bit behind for a while, but we're catching up slowly but surely. So that's really cool to hear. You'll be hopefully talking to people like me a lot.
I'm happy to talk about what I do. I think it's really fun, so I like sharing it with other people and seeing what their experiences are and their view on the industry, because academia, we can come up with some really cool ideas and fun things to do, but it's only as useful as the people who would be implementing it. So seeing what the industry needs and what they maybe are already doing that we're not aware of, or what we have thought up that might be helpful, and they maybe give us a reality check sometimes of, that's a really cool idea, but here's reality in our system. So trying to make it actually useful.
So in the future, what do you think will attract you to a company? Say you can work anywhere in the world. What are the things that you want for the company that you work for?
That's a very good question. ideas, but they're not fully fleshed out just because I still am very early in my PhD program. I like companies that kind of are able to run the span of having really high-level conversations in the boardroom and in leadership of here's our metrics or what we're trying to do and here's how we think we can achieve that, but also have that buy-in and that relationship with their operators and their mill managers and their growers or producers and the people who are probably going to be the ones implementing those changes or doing some of that extra work maybe that is required, and being able to go to them and explain this is what we're trying to do. If we're adding something to their day or adding something to their checklist, being able to explain why we're doing that and how it benefits them and benefits the company, and instead of just kind of passing down from leadership of this is what we're doing. I really like having a company where I can kind of run between those levels. And
yeah, you want to be involved and on level. You don't want to be locked in a cubicle somewhere doing.
Exactly. And I've seen the challenges that happen when your teams aren't able to communicate with each other. Like even at K-State, just between our grad student research and trying to get our undergrad help lined up, no matter the size, there's always communication challenges. But I think when you know people and know them on a personal level, you're more likely to get the benefit of the doubt and have people ask you questions instead of digging in their heels.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's a big, I mean, it's not a huge problem, but it happens, right? Because people are on such different levels. I have the rare opportunity to get to talk to people at kind of every level of these companies, and it's an issue, especially when you're sitting there in the feed mill and you are the one dumping the bags into the micro ingredient machine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those little knowing why you're doing what you're doing is really helpful. So
yeah, and that's something I'm really grateful for. I've had, just with my background, I've been able to kind of see how a lot of steps in the process work.
Yeah.
So it helps me. I feel like I can bring things to the table and explain, like, that's a really cool idea, but here's what the people in that area are actually going to have to do to achieve it.
The practical effects.
Exactly, yeah. How the practicality of it. And I don't know everything, and I hope I never claim to, but it's fun to have that mixture.
Excellent. Well, that's it. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I'm Patrick Badger.
Patrick, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Patrick, what made you decide feed science? That's for me.
So it was a little bit different. I'm from Southern Indiana. I grew up showing pigs and cattle. Thought I wanted to be a vet.
A farm kid?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I went to Purdue for my undergraduate, started in pre-vet, decided that was probably not the route I wanted to pursue, but I stuck with the animal sciences. And went my junior year, I started getting into nutrition.
Okay.
Took quite a few nutrition classes in undergrad. Really enjoyed that. And got into a little bit of undergraduate research help my senior year, because that would have been the fall of COVID year. So got into helping with some research, really enjoyed it, and kind of spurred me into emailing actually the swine nutrition team at K-State.
Nice.
And they thought, based on what I was wanting to do, because I wanted to have some feed mill experience, because I think that'd be important to tie in with the nutrition background. They thought with my experience and what I want to do, they thought the feed science program would be a really good fit. And I emailed Dr. Polk, I think that same day, and we set up a meeting about 2 days after that, and it just kind of took off from there.
Is there any particular part of the industry that appeals to you more than a production background or something like that?
So I like some of the research side, like the research that we conduct. I like how that is. The setup to it, I like being able to be on the forefront of challenges that the industry faces.
Yeah.
And it's going to continuously change based on diet formulation trends, newest ingredients coming out, cheapest ingredients coming out. It's always going to change, and it's going to affect your feed mill in various ways. So if there's an industry-faced challenge, I'd like to be on the forefront and working with that and trying to get ahead and trying to make lives of feed mill managers, feed mill operators easier.
Yeah.
Because that's where it's coming from. I mean, you have to have the people or the systems to be able to make that feed. And if you're having issues, you're not going to be making feed.
Yeah.
And so I really like that aspect of it, but I also enjoy technical services side.
Sure.
Going through helping producers and helping feed mills try to optimize their system, run machines more efficiently, and try to help with any kind of issues that they face.
Is there any particular type that you're really interested in? Or you're like, I'm interested in making the perfect pellet. Anything like that?
Actually, all my research is on pellets.
Nice.
Pellet quality effects on pig growth performances, and pellet mill electrical efficiencies.
Then this is perfect, right? Is this your first show?
Yes, this is my first.
You also got kind of trapped in the COVID.
Yes. We were planning on coming last year, and I believe it was 3 or 4 days before we were going to leave. Mm-hmm. That's when, as Alison said, the Delta variant spiked, especially here in Atlanta. And with Kansas State University's guidelines and recommendations, we opted it would be smarter to stay back.
You gotten to go around and talk to vendors and things like that?
That's been a really good experience, because I know with the OH Cruise feed mill at K-State, we operate with Interstate's software and control system, and I like going through and I like to learn the different software packages that are out there and automation systems, just to get a general idea, because not every feed mill or company is going to want to operate on one system. I'd like to be able to know a little bit about each one, try to round myself off even more.
So, question. You're going to go out, you're going to graduate one day, and you're going to get a bunch of job offers. Fingers crossed. Always fingers crossed. Who knows? Maybe we'll be all on bio meat at some point. But what do you look for in companies that you want to work for? What are some of the things that you're? And this is for them. They want to know that when I ask this question, they want to know how they can recruit you. It's not the other way around.
This is a personal preference for me. I know some people are different. Some people want to be a number within a company. That's just they like that. I like having a little bit more of a personal connection, getting to know people, getting to know the company more on a personal level, not just business level. Because ultimately, if you're working with a customer, they might purchase a product because they like the product, but also in my opinion, the biggest aspect is the person selling the product. They've got to have a personal connection with them.
Sure.
And I'm very big on that. I like trying to build those personal relationships going into it and through an interview process and follow-up emails and just staying in contact. Even, especially now I'm growing up, if I didn't get an offer, I didn't hear back from an application, I don't get bitter, because I've already met those people, and that's a connection that'll go with you. Yeah. They may not remember exactly who you are. They might remember the name, though.
Yeah.
Or this sounds familiar, and that's a connection you can go, and if you see them at an additional meeting, you start building that relationship over time. And regardless of if you work for them, it's still a relationship that matters.
Yeah.
Somebody that might share an issue at their facility or within their company, and you try to work together to accomplish that, or ways to solve that, bounce ideas back and forth. Just building those relationships is what I would be as paramount for companies.
Well, you're kind of in the perfect industry for that, so you'll see the same people year after year, and get to know them and watch as they go, even if they branch off from you and go a different direction. So they stay in contact. So you've chosen wisely, I guess is what I'm saying. Hi, Steven again. I didn't record an outro on the show floor, so we're doing this now in the future. I just want to thank Ashley, Alison, and Patrick for talking to me, and of course you for listening. I hope you enjoy the podcast, and I hope that you'll be back for the next one. Stay safe.